Hey there everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're talking about a fun 90s action OVA called Gunsmith Cats. Gunsmith Cats began its life as a manga written by Kenichi Sanada that had a 7-year run from 1990 to 1997. The manga was popular enough to get a sequel manga, Gunsmith Cats Burst, in the mid-2000s, and a 3-episode OVA, which was released between November 1995 and September of 1996. Hey, I'm always up for taking a look at 80s and 90s OVAs on this channel, usually due to the fact that they have very detailed hand-drawn animation, and Gunsmith Cats is no exception. The show follows the exploits of Raleigh Vincent and May Hopkins, two bounty hunters and gun shop owners with a particular set of skills, and an awesome car. While the Gunsmith Cats manga had plenty of content over its 8-volume original run, the OVA is a newly minted story written especially for the animation that incorporates references to the source material, but you won't be lost if you haven't read the manga. The show was animated by Studio OLM, who are probably most well known for their work on Pokemon, but have also worked on a ton of shit like Berserk. At only 3 30-minute episodes, the Gunsmith Cats OVA is a pretty light experience that you can easily watch in one sitting, with fun action and fun characters. So let's go ahead and take a look at the story of 1997's Gunsmith Cats. The first thing you'll notice when this show begins is the beautifully drawn backdrops of Chicago. The backgrounds are all very detailed, but they fall short in comparison to the impressive depiction of both cars and guns. Yeah, does anyone remember that old first-person shooter on the PS2 Black, where the commercials very brazenly proclaimed that the game was gun porn? This is basically that in anime form with how impeccably detailed the firearms are. I read that the production crew actually took a trip to the city of Chicago where they got a bunch of inspiration around the city and then also went and fired a bunch of guns. And I just imagine that was a pretty damn fun work trip. Just a group of Japanese animators in the late 90s firing automatic weapons all day. We open as the proprietors of Gunsmith Cats, Raleigh Vincent and Minnie May Hopkins, a pair of bombastic women working as bounty hunters, engage their first target. They do call and tip off their prey, a big lug named Jonathan Washington, that they're coming, which is nice of them. It gives him enough time to load a sawn-off shotgun, but no amount of buckshot stops a gas grenade, and they're easily able to take him in. Washington was wanted for drug charges, but had nothing on him, and there was no evidence, something that piques Raleigh's interest. She doesn't have to wonder about it for very long though, as a long-haired, sleazy-looking man enters the shop and identifies himself as Bill Collins, an agent for the ATF. Collins says that Washington is actually suspected of being heavily involved in gun running. He wants Raleigh and May to set up a deal with Washington, allowing the ATF to find his illegal stash of guns. At first, Raleigh outright refuses, not wanting to work for a Fed, and saying that the ATF is in charge of regulating everything people like. But when Bill mentions that he would just hate to have to get a warrant to search their house and shop for all the unregistered weapons that he knows they have, it would just be easier for them to cut a deal. Collins leaves and tells them to take some time to think on it, but as they close up shop for the night, we see a shadowy figure staking out the store and tailing them. That night, 3 thieves break into the house. They are wary about this unassuming home housing a bunch of weapons and explosives, but the head thug assures his associates that he has a good source of info. Of course, these thieves don't take long to find the stash of weaponry hidden in the basement, but they also trigger an alarm, alerting the girls to their presence. This is really the first time we get to see Raleigh and her expert marksmanship in action. She kills the power to the basement using her superior aim and knowledge of the room's layout to take out 2 of the men. The third attempts to escape through another door only to trigger a booby trap that drops a bunch of grenades on him and nearly blows up the whole house. Now you would think this guy would be like blown to bloody shreds, but Gunsmith Cats kinda runs on like 50% Looney Tunes logic and 50% 80s action movie logic. Gunshots are dangerous and visceral, but nearly everybody who gets shot survives, either through our characters only wanting to disable them, or luck, I guess. And then explosives, on the other hand, they just kind of cover people in soot and knock them out most of the time. The ATF just so happened to be sitting in a van right outside the house listening to Raleigh and May insult Collins' style, so they show up before the normal cops even get there. Collins now has everything he needs to convince Raleigh to take the job, what with plenty of evidence of illegal guns just sort of sitting around. Collins is willing to bend the rules to get what he wants, including tipping off gun thieves and letting a shootout happen in a suburban house, so you may as well work with him, I suppose. Raleigh heads to the jail to talk to Washington, who at first is mad at her for putting him behind bars, but isn't willing to hold a grudge if it means getting him out. They agree that his cache of weapons can be bought for the exact amount of his bail. How convenient. Meanwhile, Collins is called into his boss's office, and we get a hint of bigger things happening behind the scenes. We overhear his boss on the phone going on about 3 dead agents and a case going nowhere, and suddenly the simple job of finding Washington's stash is only part of a bigger and more deadly picture. While Collins has no leads on a suspected leak out of the Illinois office, he placates his boss by saying he'll do some covert work behind the scenes. Raleigh and May's bespectacled friend Becky is then introduced, and she's kind of mad that Raleigh would take a dangerous job for the feds, even though they kind of have her over a barrel. This leads to Raleigh, May, and Becky making plans to go out to dinner, but with one quick stop first: the location of Washington's stash. Raleigh plans on making it a quick trip so she can end the deal with Collins, which leads to all 3 of them going to the warehouse. I do love how they basically have to restrain May in the car because her bombastic personality wouldn't be helpful in this situation. Let me take a moment to say I really do love the art style of this OVA and how expressive they let the main cast be. The show is not afraid to inch into hyper-expressive territory, especially with May, but overall the show's art is just really great. Raleigh goes inside, giving up the guns on her person to meet with Washington Johnson in his office. Despite being caught by Raleigh earlier in the episode, he seems pretty happy to be out on bail and offloading all his incriminating guns to her. However, he has one small test for Raleigh before he's willing to sell to her. Washington and his men have Collins tied up in another room, having found him sneaking around outside. He hands Raleigh Collins' gun and a single bullet. But instead of taking out the ATF agent, Raleigh shoots off his bindings, allowing Collins to throw the chair at another thug who drops his gun. Raleigh then dives through the air and grabs the gun, pointing it at Washington and holding him hostage. Yet one thing that becomes very apparent quickly is how good the action choreography is in Gunsmith Cats. And it isn't just the choreography that's good here, because just like the action being interesting, so are the character interactions. Raleigh doesn't just walk in and save Collins immediately because she's a goody two-shoes. She lets Bill sweat a little bit, and even admits to Washington that he was the one who originally set them up. But she then clues Collins into her plan with just a look. It's a cool character moment for Raleigh, showing that she can think on her feet and smartly manipulate dangerous situations. And to Collins' credit, it shows he's a man of action that is in the field for a reason. Especially when the two decide to fight their way out, and he uses Washington as a meat shield to make his way out of the office. Their escape turns into a furious gunfight, with Collins taking the ground floor of the warehouse and Raleigh running along a catwalk bolted to the ceiling. What could be a boring shootout in the most mundane location, the warehouse full of crates and boxes, it becomes a fun spectacle as Raleigh ends up dropping her gun, but finding a shotgun. She then shoots at the floor, banking the buckshot under an industrial shelf and taking out a bunch of gunmen at the legs. It's like Gunsmith Cats has a mission to never make the action boring. The firefight ends with Collins sliding under a shotgun round, shredding his jacket, and grabbing Raleigh's dropped sidearm while simultaneously throwing his own gun up to her. They then take out the final 2 thugs in a Rainbow Six sink shot where Raleigh catches the gun in midair while doing a flip and having her boobies out, might I add, because boobs are cool, and then shooting the final dude's shotgun, causing it to blow up in his hands. Then, of course, the shotgun guy has Raleigh's hidden wrist gun that she gave them to get to her meeting with Washington, but after hearing the commotion, May busts in and drops a bunch of grenades on him. The gun-running crew is all taken in by the ATF, and Collins thanks Raleigh and May for their hard work. He also tells them he has another job for them, and the first episode of Gunsmith Cats ends with the two running away in a sitcom-style freeze frame. As a first episode, I think it works pretty well. There's a lot of nice character interaction, snazzy music, and the action scenes set up that the animation studio is going for something dynamic with a lot of cool camera shots and movement. Episode 2 ups the ante, with the characters encountering more than just poorly trained armed thugs and goons. A newly arrived Russian assassin named Radonov has arrived on the scene, and she's armed to the teeth and even has a cool Call of Duty ballistic knife that she uses on some poor Canadian security guard. So it seems that this gun smuggling ring has international connections, as we see guns being packed alongside frozen lobster for shipment. Radonov then collects a big bag of drugs to sell for cash back in Russia, but just as her job looks like it's complete, she gets a call from her employer about a few more targets. Riley and May might have thought that they were done with Washington Johnson, but they're now meeting with him at an ATF safe house. Taking him alive was a big win, but now his former employers might send someone after him, and Washington warns Riley that the ATF is not to be trusted. He asks Riley to take his Rolex watch, his last possession, and deliver it to his daughter. Of course, the hard-boiled Riley refuses, but as the ATF guards come in to tell them meeting time is over, he passes the watch and address off to May. They then almost immediately get run off the road by Radonov on their way home from the safe house. Radonov proves her nickname, the Bloody Pierce, to be correct when she arrives at the safe house and takes out all 5 ATF agents standing guard. She's able to get the drop on them because she has an access card and code to get in, and of course the ID used to access the house comes up as Bill Collins. Radonov comes off as a total death machine as she calmly walks through the house, dispatching agents. She even pulls off a Max Payne dive with the long jacket and everything. And the jacket isn't just for swag points, it's totally bulletproof to the point where she tanks a shotgun blast from like 10 feet away without flinching. Finally, she busts into the bathroom and takes out Washington with her ballistic knife. I mean, I know Washington isn't a good guy, but after they humanized him over these 2 episodes, I feel kind of bad for him. Collins' boss takes him off the case because of his apparent involvement. Bill argues that he is innocent, and while his boss, Mr. Black, doesn't think he's a traitor, it's too much of a conflict of interest to keep him on. Knowing that Bill has a tendency to go lone wolf at times, I mean, the guy literally just got taken hostage last episode, his boss tells him that this case isn't a battlefield and going it alone won't earn him any medals. I really like that little Collins lore drop through the dialogue, it's a nice touch. While a criminal always returns to the scene of the crime, and in this case Radonov returns to the ATF safe house, and we see that she receives a dossier on her next hit job from her employer, Riley and May. Though the printout does say that Riley's name is Larry, so maybe her employer is dyslexic. Radonov misses her chance to take out Riley when she enters their neighborhood just as they are, pranking Collins by blowing the wheels off his van with explosives for planting a microphone in their house. Riley and May found themselves at a dead end with the watch, as when they went to the address, they only found a large man living there instead of Washington's daughter. But when they sit down with Becky to think about it, Riley realizes that Washington had internet access at his warehouse, which was still probably a rarity in the late 90s. With that info, they figure out that the address actually points them to a hidden web address that brings them to a porn site, the same site Washington had on his screen at the start of his meeting with Riley. When they enter a number that's been etched into the fake Rolex, it loads a secret section of the website that lists the gun runner's inventory along with points of origin and buy and sell dates. The data shows that all of the weapons that the smuggling ring have sold were recently seized by the ATF, proving without a shadow of a doubt that there's a mole within the organization. Riley decides to go to the location on the list with the most recent shipment to see if the guns are actually there, and of course, Collins has bugged their shop computer, so when they print out the list, it also prints out in his office. Riley and May sneak into a warehouse and discover the lobster shipment from the beginning of the episode. They're caught by a bunch of goons, but use a flash grenade and some special sunglasses to easily take them out and get behind cover. Unbeknownst to Riley, Radonov sneaks up and takes aim with her ballistic knife, but at the last second her aim is thrown off by a gunshot to her protected arm. Bill saves Riley this time, but still gets no respect. The poor guy. Bill quickly tells Rally that he also distrusts the ATF, but they don't have much time to talk as Radonov speeds off with a kidnapped May in her car. Having her plan foiled by circumstance twice in a row makes Radonov mad. So when she finds May sneaking out of the warehouse under a fence, she handcuffs and kidnaps her instead of just killing her. Radonov is a dangerous psychopath, but it's her pride as an untouchable assassin that causes her to descend further into fury as the OVA goes on. This leads to Rally and Radonov engaging in an awesome car chase where rubber is burning, bullets are flying, and Becky is freaking the fuck out in the passenger seat. Also, the jazz music soundtrack definitely doesn't hurt. When they start shooting at each other while weaving through traffic, Rally once again shows off her incredible aim as she shoots an Uzi out of Radonov's hand. The bullet only gave her a flesh wound on her hand, but it also took a nasty chunk out of her ear and blew off her one red earring, which sends her into an even deeper rage. While Radonov and Rally battle back and forth with both cars and guns, May is busy in the back seat setting up a small explosive that she had hidden in her shoes. Yes, May does just walk around with plastic explosives hidden in her shoes, a fact that becomes increasingly less surprising with every episode. She blows the back window out of Radonov's car and makes a daring jump, landing on the GT's hood and holding on to Becky. Radonov then speeds off a raised drawbridge and explodes in midair. Yeah, not only did May plant a charge to blow out the window, she used the rest of her supplies to destroy the rest of the car. Episode 2 ends as the police and first responders arrive at the scene of the Gunsmith Cats' very public gunfight. While this spectacle caused commotion in the city of Chicago, the ATF leader, George Black, is seen on TV giving a press conference and revealing that civilians were involved in taking down a gun smuggling ring. As a result, Rally and May are supposed to meet Senator Edward Hines during a rally to receive an award for bravery. Of course, Hines is using this as a campaign opportunity as he's running for mayor of Chicago and has already been seen cozying up to the head of the ATF and promising a crackdown on guns. We see that Rally and May both ditch their ATF security detail with help from their friends Roy and Kate, who both work for Chicago PD. Rally plans on using the meeting with Hines as a way of getting their licenses returned, so that they can reopen the shop. Apparently the entire case has been closed despite the ATF leak never being plugged, and Rally still has all the proof that the illegal guns were sourced from that organization, so why not leverage that info to get something out of the prospective mayor? Sounds good to me, especially when you just got your car fixed and now there's a knife stabbed into the hood. That's ominous. Yeah, somehow Radonov survived that explosion and patches herself up at the ATF safe house where Washington was being held. Not only does she patch herself up there, but she rips that whole place apart in a wild rage. It isn't just Rally who is ultra suspicious about the ATF leak, as Bill Collins shows up at their door and begs for her help. He doesn't trust the ATF at all, but Rally also doesn't really want anything to do with him after he continuously bugged her house and workplace. So she basically tells Bill she's going to take care of it without his help and leaves him on the doorstep for the cops stationed outside to run him off. Bill returns to his office to find the place pretty much empty. His assistant Kathy runs in with frantic news, showing that she's found phone records from a shut-down safe house, making calls directly to George Black's phone. And what's even more suspicious is that George packed up his office and took all his vacation time, leaving in a hurry. Man, this random assistant we haven't seen until right now really comes in clutch. We see that George has arrived at the safe house, hoping to escape the country with Radonov now that his scheme has started to unravel. I gotta say, George's plan kinda sucks. He left an incredibly obvious paper trail and has to leave his job as the head of an ATF branch office and uproot his entire life. I don't know how much money he got paid out for his part in selling illegal guns, but could it be worth losing his entire career and presumed government pension? Well, either way, the plan doesn't work, because Radonov gets the order from her boss to eliminate all the loose ends, and she kills George with what appears to be a well rod. That's an oddly specific gun. Shortly after, Collins and his ATF partner Geordie arrive at the safe house to find it abandoned, except for George's dead body, which has been booby-trapped with a grenade. Geordie hits redial on the safe house's phone, and they find that the last person who was called was none other than Senator Hines, who's been orchestrating the ATF gun leak and the Russian assassinations the entire time. Geordie hangs up the phone, which triggers another booby trap, and the entire fucking house explodes with the two ATF agents still inside. It's a really big explosion. Meanwhile, Raleigh and May wait with Roy in the rain for the speech to start. They begrudgingly have to give up their weapons, but Roy flashes his badge and holds onto the guns for them instead of handing them off to Hines's private security. While the two are up on the stage making nice with the senator, Radonov walks through the crowd. This time her plan involves opening fire on the stage in broad daylight, killing some of Hines' security, and almost hitting the senator himself. Luckily for Raleigh, a wounded Collins yells out, and the heel of her shoe breaks at just the right time, and she stumbles under the gunfire. May gave her those shoes earlier in the episode, and I totally thought they were going to have explosives inside them, but I guess not. Raleigh and May race off through the crowd, grabbing their weapons and chasing Radonov to the under-construction museum across the park. Splitting up, they chase Radonov through the building, eventually catching up to her on the roof. The assassin detonates a bomb planted on a water tank, which knocks May off the building. She's able to grab onto a rope and swing onto a scaffolding, but holy shit, talk about rope burn. The blast knocks Raleigh off her feet, and then Radonov stabs her in the shoulder with her ballistic knife. She comes over and tells Raleigh that she's going to torture her to death, but then the rope that May caught returns with a bucket-delivered flash grenade, blinding Radonov and allowing Raleigh to escape down the scaffolding. See, this is why you always have one friend that has easy access to explosives. The assassin follows them through the building, but May has set up a bunch of traps. Presumably on her way up until the building the first time. I don't think she had time to do it while also dragging the bleeding out Raleigh behind her. This slows Radonov down, but she's able to easily follow a trail of blood into the bathroom. Little does Radonov know that her rage has blinded her, and it's a trap. Instead of Raleigh bleeding out, the hit woman finds an explosive charge that detonates and finally takes her out. Hines frantically returns to his office, super pissed that Radonov considered him collateral damage in order to take out Raleigh. He finds the assassin in his office staring out the window like Michael Scott and asks her what the fuck she was thinking and threatens to take back the drugs he gave her as payment. Radonov never turns around or reacts to his provocations, so Hines just picks up a gun that's sitting on the table and tries to kill Radonov, but surprise, surprise, the gun is totally empty. When Radonov does finally turn around, we get the reveal that it's actually Kathy in a wig and jacket, and Becky is hiding behind the curtain with a camera, catching all of the incriminating talk from Hines for everyone to see. As it turns out, Hines really just wanted stricter gun laws so that he could sell his stolen hardware at higher and higher prices. As he's being cuffed and dragged off to jail, he exclaims that he should have just focused on crime and blaming immigrants, which, that might be the most realistic piece of dialogue for a politician in any piece of fiction ever. But what I really want to know is, where did Becky and Kathy get that disguise? Can you just pick up that bulletproof jacket at LL Bean? They definitely didn't get it off of Radonov's body, and I know that for a fact because the final scene of the OVA takes place with Raleigh getting medical attention on the museum steps. Suddenly, Radonov bursts out from the back of an ambulance with an axe to attack Raleigh. With her wounded arm, Raleigh can't pull her gun up in time, but Bill comes in for one last save and shoots Radonov in the side, allowing Raleigh to pull her gun and mag dump the assassin from like 1 foot away. The OVA ends with Collins and Raleigh sitting on the steps of the museum, having saved the day, and a nice shot of the Chicago skyline. And that is the end of the Gunsmith Cats 90s OVA, a short and sweet window into the longer-running action manga. I have to say I really enjoyed watching this, and while the plot isn't the most engaging mystery, it's a good vehicle for excellent action. No shootout in this show is ever boring. I mean, they make a gunfight inside a warehouse full of wooden crates exciting and engaging. It really does feel like the writers sat down and said, okay, how can we make these gunfights awesome? And that's without mentioning the car chase in episode 2, which I think is probably the best part of the entire OVA. Thank you for watching today, and if you've seen the Gunsmith Cats OVA, comment down below with what you thought of it. Coming up on the channel, we have a full retrospective of Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise, so keep a lookout for that within the next few weeks. Also, if you want to check out the gaming channel, link below. I just started uploading there again after a couple months of feeling kind of burned out, and I'm running through Pokemon Sword, which I haven't played through since the pandemic, so I don't remember anything about it. Anyway, thanks again, and I will see you again soon. Hey there everyone, and welcome to today's end card. As always, I want to start off by thanking my wonderful channel members, aka Batosai, Azure Windress, Brian Sanchez, Chris Goodnow, D. Gonzalez, Daniel Johnson, Dane O'Connor, Good Apollo, Grimo7, Harmonious, Hidden Insanity, Jessica Solberg, Jay Lamb, Joe Castellanos, Joe Cavazos, Johnny G, Canto 20, MB, McLean Nugent, Michael Lewis, Rother the Paladin, Sin Ryuki, The Crawl, Video Gamer 75, Zach Jones, and Zappa the Ace. Thank you all very much for being channel members. Of course, I appreciate it. The fact that you like my videos enough to just sort of give me a tip every month is really, really cool. You guys are all great. I hope you liked the video. Gunsmith Cats was really a nice break between like a lot of different things, because of course I'm watching a 50-episode anime in Transformers Armada right now. Well, I should say Transformers Legend of the Microns. I'm watching the Japanese version. And, of course, we're doing Gundam Re-Rise and everything like that. So this was just a cool little, like, 3-episode OVA to watch, and it was really enjoyable. It's, you know, it's not like the most amazing, mind-blowing thing in the world, but it's a lot of fun. And I want to hear what your thoughts were about it down below. If you want to know what's coming up next on the channel, I believe the next video that'll actually be out is the Gundam Retrospective Divers Re-Rise video. I'm still working on the Flag video, and I'm just starting to write the script for Transformers Armada, because I'm almost done watching the anime, so that Transformers video will be out in August at some point. So keep a lookout for that. Since I'm almost done watching Transformers, though, I think the next, like, long 50-episode anime I'm going to watch for the channel is probably the next Macross series or the next Zoids series, which, by the way, the Zoids Fusers video, like, really didn't get pushed in the algorithm at all, so if you want to go support the Zoids Fusers video as well, that would be really cool. I'd like to see that get above 10k views. It will eventually. Those videos have long tails on them, but yeah, that one, for whatever reason, it even sent me a message saying like, oh, your video's not getting very many impressions, and it's like, well, that's up to you, YouTube. Like, you do that, not me. That's the part that you do. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to support me other than this, you can check out the gaming channel. I believe I said in the outro of the video, we're running through Pokemon Sword, which a video should be out today or yesterday, so if you want to go check that out, I kind of changed the format over there, so there's longer videos that don't come out every day, so your sub box doesn't get flooded by like a million Let's Plays from that channel, which I know some people find annoying, so go check that out if you want to support the gaming channel, and hey, I will see you again for probably one more video in July at least, so thank you for watching, see you again soon.